Here are 10 things you should know before you start aerial arts.
Hi guys! So you are thinking about starting aerial arts, but you have some questions about it, and we are here to help you answer these questions today.
Yes, today we're going to go through about 10 of the most common questions that we get about aerial arts, or questions that you may have before you're starting.
Yes, and we will start off with what is aerial arts, because this is the most important thing you need to know, exactly what it is that aerial arts is.
Yeah, so aerial arts is a type of practice or performance where you have artists perform different dance and acrobatic moves using different, types of shapes of what we call apparatuses, whether it be a fabric apparatus or something made of bar. And they can range from the circle, like we see with the hoop, to sometimes we see the anchor, the heart, the square,
the moon.
Yeah, so it started very basic, and now today it has become more popular with different movies and stuff like Cirque du Soleil. And now it's become something that people use not only to express themselves artistically, but also as a form of training.
Yes, so we can see that more and more studios are popping up all across the earth. Now, it's not just maybe in your city, but it's everywhere you go, where more and more people are becoming exposed to aerial arts as a type of exercise. So it's not just giving performance anymore. It's not just something before, people would think aerial arts and think about circus. Now it's exercise, and so people are starting to use it as a way to get into that fitness space and taking care of their mental health and so on, because of all the benefits that it does, because it is a form of exercise.
Yeah, and that's where you see all those beautiful routines that you see on places like Instagram and TikTok.
Yes,
and it's a sport that tests your body, but also your mind. Yeah, big time. People get over a lot of different fears that they have of heights, of doing hard things, all from aerial, for example, for myself. And I've been seeing online a lot of people say that this is how they get themselves through, just like we do. When we think we have a difficult challenge in our life, we say, if we could throw ourselves from a couple feet up in the air, we can definitely get through this.
Yes.
So yeah, it challenges you all across your life.
Yes, and I hope that doesn't scare you away, because it is such an amazing sport for you to try. And so if you are thinking about getting started, here are things that you need to know.
Yes. Okay, so the first question is, can I start as an adult with no acrobatic or dance background?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. Yes.
We had no acrobatic background before we started,
And the dancing that we would do is very different.
Very different from what you would do in the air. Yeah, I feel it's even way different from ballet or any kind of Latin dance. So it's far away. But those skills do help you, of course.
With
but
the counting and music.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Counting, music, rhythm, and stuff like that. But it's definitely not necessary at all.
Yeah. So if you haven't have a background in acrobatics or haven't done any dance, then don't let that scare you. Give aerial a try, because it's not needed. Although it's helpful, it's really not needed. And it's a skill that you will build as you continue to train aerial.
Even if you're scared of heights, you're still able to start aerial. So the great thing is that you can also modify aerial based on where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, now can I start with a zero fitness background?
Yes, you can start aerial arts with a zero fitness background. Do note that it will be challenging in the beginning, just like starting any other sport. So of course, since aerial is fitness in itself, starting without a fitness background, with being able to hold yourself in the air for long amounts of time, you will need to develop the strength to do that, and you will need to develop the endurance and also the flexibility and the grace that you need along the way. That being said, it's definitely doable, and as you practice and you're consistent, you build the strength and the flexibility that you need. Right?
Yes. I also think that it's important that when you decide to start aerial, you realize that you are taking on that fitness part of your life. You're starting that fitness journey. It's also important to incorporate other forms of cross training as well in your training. So you don't need a fitness background to start, but when you get started, hopefully seeing all the amazing things you can do when you are strong enough, you have the endurance, the flexibility, will motivate you to cross train and try to get a little bit more flexible so you can deal with the flexibility tricks and to get stronger. So thinking about starting to lift weights and so on, not saying it's something that you have to do every day or something like that, just putting some of that into your fitness routine to help you with developing the strength and the muscle endurance and the flexibility that you need to continue progressing in aerial.
That being said, you don't have to have it all figured out before you start. I think you'll find, just like we did, that when you decide that you want to do it and once you try it, you're going to be motivated to pursue all these other cross-training avenues because you're going to want to get stronger. You're going to want to get more flexible. You're going to want to be in the air for as long as you want and make the most of your classes and your training, and that will push you outside to do the rest.
Yes, and this is the thing, like I feel like a lot of people that we met that started with no fitness background, they then started asking us like, what do you do to get stronger? Mm-hmm. And that's when your own desire to get stronger pushes you, like Taylor said. So we've seen it happen to a lot of people around us because we didn't start with a zero fitness background, but for the people that we've seen, we see it's possible, but we also see that there comes a point where you realize you have to build the strength and the flexibility and the endurance to continue being in the air and to progress in your aerial journey.
Definitely. Okay, next question. Is aerial hard?
Before we started, I remember even before, like when we were still doing aerial yoga and we saw people doing hammock and hoop and seeing them do all of these pretty things up in the air, it looked amazing and they made it look so easy, so graceful. And then we gave it a try and we were in for a rude awakening. So we want to tell you that yes, aerial is hard, but aerial is worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
So worth it. Yes.
If you think that aerial is, going to the gym is hard, lifting weights. Yes, it is hard, but the difference with aerial is that you have to be strong and have grace. Because to make these things that you're doing in the air look easy, then you need to add that grace part of it. And that is not easy, but like we said before, it's something that comes as you get stronger and more confident being in the air, the more you learn and progress.
Yes. What muscles do you use when you train aerial? All of your muscles. In short, we use all of our muscles because you're keeping your body in the air. And if you use all of your muscles, it is a lot more efficient than just isolating them. And you'll find that from the beginning, if you're just trying to use just your upper body strength or just your legs, it's going to be very difficult. But if you are able to engage as many muscles as possible while you're doing the poses, then you have more muscles to work with. So it is a full body sport. That being said, we do find that most of the poses require more of your upper body. So you'll find that when you're starting and you want to do those pretty poses or even getting on the apparatus, you're going to find that you'll use a lot of upper body strength. You'll find that you'll need to build some upper body strength. And then once you've built that upper body strength and you become reliant on that, you'll find that you'll need to know how to use your lower body strength as well. So it's a great combination. I also think that it takes a lot of core strength as well.
Core.
Yes.
Lots of core strength.
And I think that's the thing for almost every sport that you do. If you play like soccer or something, even if you're just doing like using your legs, your core just helps you coordinate all of that. So I'd say core and upper body, but you will also need to use your lower body as well.
Yeah. And especially like keeping your legs pointed and tense through different poses that you're doing. You are going to be using your leg strength in a way that is different than what you are used to doing at the gym. If you do go to the gym already, it's in a different way, but you will realize that you will have, like for instance, your hip flexors will get stronger, your calves will get stronger, your legs on a whole will get stronger, but not in the way that you would imagine from the leg exercises that we're used to seeing people do, all these online influencers do and stuff like that.
And this is where I think Pilates is such a good cross training. I mean, definitely lift weights, I feel like that's our home, but like I do see like a lot of girls who are into Pilates, they're able to move their legs in such a way that it looks so beautiful because they're so used to isolating things like their hip flexors and engaging their core and stuff like that. So yeah, you'll learn that there's a difference between being strong with lifting weights and being strong in like moving your body in the air. Calisthenics is also a really good one for that.
Yeah, and they have a lot of similarities. Both Pilates and calisthenics with aerial, they have a lot of similarities because we're also just maneuvering our body, you know? We're dealing with our own body weight.
And the rings itself, very similar to like the silks. Okay, next question.
Do you have to be skinny to do aerial arts? Now, this is a question that, you know, it kind of affects us in a way because we don't want people to feel that you have to have a certain body type to train aerial. A lot of people you see online do it, and thank God for Instagram that now you can see more people with different sizes and shapes and everything doing it, so it's more inclusive. But you don't have to be skinny to train aerial arts. All you need to have is the motivation to get strong and the desire to do the things, and a little bit of pain tolerance, or a lot of pain tolerance. But it doesn't matter what shape you are. You can be comfortable knowing that aerial is something that you can do. It doesn't matter the type of body that you have.
Yes. If you look at Karina and I, we're different sizes, different heights. You know, we have different body shapes, and we're still able to do it. Now, will it look the same for everyone? Absolutely not. This is one of the things that we try to highlight the most on our channel, and try to make it as inclusive of a space as possible, because, you know, aerial is for everyone. We want you to know that our bodies move differently, and so poses will look differently. But at the end of the day, we're all still doing aerial. And, you know, that's the beautiful thing about it, that it is for everyone and it looks so different on everyone, just like everyone is so different.
Yeah, and I think that the most important thing as well is that you accept what your body can do when you are training, and that makes your training a lot more fulfilling versus comparing yourself to what other people's body does or the way it looks in the air and so on. When you can focus on yourself and be grateful for what your body can do, it makes your practice a lot more fulfilling. And that's, like Taylor said, what we want you to take away from our channel. Even though we keep saying that a lot of times we compare ourselves to people that we see online, people that we meet in class, people that have been training for so much longer than we have, people that grew up in the space, you know, and you have to understand that your aerial journey is your journey.
So you should embrace that journey. Okay, next question. What are the most common types of aerial? There are a lot of different types of aerial. I feel like there's some new apparatus popping up every second. So what we call types of aerial would be aerial apparatuses. It's just what shape the thing that we're moving on is. So we have fabric apparatuses, like we have aerial hammock and, you know, anti-gravity yoga, aerial yoga. They both use the fabric in like a loopy position. And then we also have the silks, which is fabric as well, where you have two ends that we're maneuvering to make shapes in the air. And then we have the bar apparatuses like aerial hoop. So that's the circle. And we also classify pole as aerial as well, because you are suspending your body in the air. Even though sometimes pole kind of acts like our distant cousin that comes to visit, the cool cousin that visits, that you can't wait to have.
That's so true.
I think because we have a flying pole, we're very much kind of included. Like, I feel like flying pole is like aerial pole, but
regular pole. Regular pole is still aerial pole.
That's true. Pole. Exactly. Regular. Exactly. Yeah. Regular pole is also, you know, aerial pole, at least for us, you know. Even though they might have different histories, I think they kind of do the same thing, and it looks beautiful.
Yes. And a lot of the skills that you learn on one apparatus translates over to the other. So this is why we cover all of these things as aerial arts or aerial acrobatics, because
they're very connected. Don't think that you will be able to do something because you're so used to, for example, if you're used to training silks, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll know how to do it on the pole. However, you might still be able to know how to engage your muscles in the same way, but it will take some practice, just like with every apparatus.
And then on top of that, Taylor mentioned before that they have many other apparatuses. So you might see something online that looks different, looks like a moon or a star or a heart or
The spiral.
the spiral is beautiful.
So pretty.
Yes. We also have straps that you can do this kind of like fabric, but not really fabric. It's a different type of material. So all of these things that you see people doing in the air is covered under aerial acrobatics. And the silks and the hoop and the pole and the hammock, the aerial yoga, the straps, these are the ones that you can find more commonly in the gyms that train aerial, the studios that train aerial.
And trapeze.
And trapeze, yes. But do know that you might walk into a gym and see something completely different. It's still aerial.
Yeah. Right. Next question. What's the difference between fabric and bar apparatuses?
So like Taylor had mentioned in the previous one that we have different apparatuses that we use, and she mentioned some of the fabric and some of the bar apparatuses that we use. But I guess the main difference is just how your body interacts with the apparatus when you are training on it. So when you have fabric apparatuses, there are things like silks that you can see here. Yeah. It moves, and usually it is the apparatus moving around your body. Versus when you have a bar apparatus, your body is moving around the apparatus itself. So what is required and the way your body interacts with the apparatus is going to be different. So for instance, on the fabric, we get a lot of burns if we're not careful to cover our bodies. We slide off and things like this. And so it's important that if you decide to train a fabric apparatus, that you keep in mind to cover your body, especially as you're getting started. Also keep in mind that what the fabric does, it wraps around your muscles and kind of constricts them, the blood flow. And so you end up with a lot of bruising, especially when you're just getting started and your body's just getting used to this. Now, with the bar apparatuses, it's different because they're hard things. They can't wrap around your body. So your body needs to wrap around them and move around them and move in and out and stuff like that. And also it's the weight of your body resting on the bar. So whether it be a pole or like a trapeze, which is very painful, or a hoop, the weight of your body is resting on it. And so you will tend to have bruising from something as simple as sitting on the apparatus, you know? So it is something to keep in mind, especially as you're deciding what to get started with as well. Keep in mind that with fabric, especially when you add spin, it's a lot less easy to control because it's so soft and fluid. So it requires a lot more muscle engagement and tensing of your body. Yep. Versus on a bar apparatus that will spin and you can sit on it or you can hold on to it. So it is a little bit different, and understanding how they move and how your body is supposed to move on these things will be very helpful when you're choosing where you want to get started.
Yeah, and notice, I like that you said, you talked about like contracting your muscles, like keeping your muscles tense. I feel like that's the common denominator with all of these apparatuses to avoid as much injury and pain. So like when you're wrapping yourself in the fabric, it can constrict your muscles. The more you tense them, the less you'll feel. It's the same thing with the bar. When you are sitting or you're doing a pole sit, for example, the more you're squeezing and you're not like engaging your muscles, the more you're going to feel that bruise the next day. So it's something to keep in mind when you're practicing both, right? Okay. Next question. Is it painful? I love these questions because I also had these questions and I can answer them now myself. Yes, it is painful. It is also, like we mentioned before, very worth it, you know? So like we were talking about before, when you are getting used to it, like getting used to the fabric, you'll have those fabric burns when you're not like, you know, conscious or paying mind to how your body kind of slides against the fabric, or, you know, how the fabric wraps around your muscles. They give you burns and they give you some bruises that will come along your aerial journey as you're learning new moves, because we all try a new move once before. And, you know, when you try something new, you're not exactly sure what you need to do. So with that being said, you will get bruised, you will get burned, but at the same time, it's so worth it in the end. And you find that your pain tolerance kind of increases as you go along your aerial journey.
To the point that it's scary.
Yeah. To the point that when you go to the doctor, and I know all the aerialists watching this can relate, and they ask you to rate your pain from 1 to 10, you can't do it because, well,
a 10 for us is very different from somebody who doesn't do aerial.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what we
so
put our
used to
body
it.
through.
Yeah. We're used to if it's pretty, it's painful, and that tends to be it most of the time. So you'll find that when you practice aerial, your pain tolerance will go up a lot.
Yes, and it goes up, but the pain also kind of goes away. And I'm not sure if it's because we can tolerate more. But for instance, the first time you try a pose, it might be very painful. And later on, you try it, you continue practicing. Eventually, you get to a point where that specific pose does not cause you any pain anymore.
Yeah.
And your body gets used to it. So it's either your pain tolerance has increased or your body has gotten used to it that you don't really feel the pain anymore. So for us, like we've been training for
5 years.
So now it's not as painful as it used to be. But when we do try a new pose or to maneuver our body on a certain apparatus in a way that we're not used to, then we do get some bruising, some pain now and again. But things that we used to do when we just started that was very painful, it's not painful anymore.
Do you notice that I have not complained about the hammock wrapping around my legs?
Yeah,
in a very long time.
Yeah, Taylor used to hate the hammock wrapping around her legs, and she hasn't really complained about it. And I told you it gets better. Yeah, except the hoop, it never gets better. I'm sorry, guys. I like to bash the hoop, but no, I haven't really been bruised on the hoop for a while, and I haven't really complained much. And I'm actually really enjoying it a lot more these days. So.
Yeah. If we look at our video, the last time we talked about like questions to know about aerial, and what we talked about, I hated the silks. Well, I think I was saying I was getting to like it a little. You also didn't care for the hoop. Yeah, and you're enjoying it, and I'm also just so enjoying the silks now.
Yeah, she really is enjoying this, and she's gotten so much better. So, I guess this is also, I hope this serves to motivate you, because one, this is very public. Yeah. So it's like you guys are getting to see Taylor get better at the silks. So when you see her doing all those cool tricks up there, you will know where she came from and where she started. And that's because that's not really the start. The start was her climbing the silks with just her arms because she's so strong up there,
and terrible.
And not knowing how to engage her leg muscles to be able to climb the silks and not just use arms. So it's a journey. Yeah. A beautiful one.
Yeah. And look, we're looking at your journey as well with the hoop.
Yes.
Dismounting and also not hating it as much.
Yes, yes.
You've only made one hoop joke so far. That is a shock.
Okay, let's continue. Is aerial safe?
This is a good question. Definitely glad that people are asking this question. Aerial is safe if you follow the right precautions. You follow the aerial rules, so to speak. If you pay attention to everything we usually mention in our safety check, if you pay attention to your rigging, making sure that you're not just putting stuff up in your house without getting it properly inspected and tested in terms of its loading and stuff like that, then it's very safe. For example, we have a rig that has been tested before it's given to us. We follow the instructions to put it up, so we know that it is very safe when we get on it. And likewise, if someone decides to put something into their home, they need to make sure that it's tested, that the load has been tested and everything, and that a professional is helping them to put this apparatus up, so that you can remain safe at all times. I think also paying attention to your level, your skill level. So when you're first starting, it's important to have some sort of guidance. Since we train at home, we definitely encourage training at home. It is also important to train at home responsibly. So making sure that you're getting guidance from people in the industry, from people who have been doing it for a while, and that you're following carefully, maybe especially in the beginning, attending classes, talking to an expert, something like that, before trying anything that's too crazy, and also starting with the basics. So if you're starting on your own, start with things that are very simple and then move on to the complex things instead of trying to jump levels, because that's how you build your expertise. And the more basic moves are, the less likely you are to get injured in them.
Yes, and it also gives you the foundation that you need so that you can hopefully avoid injuries,
Yes.
because aerial is very taxing on your body. It does require that your body go into these positions and these apparatuses that are out of the ordinary. Your body is not used to having your back bent while your hip flexors are being rotated and all that. So it is very important for you to keep that in mind so that as you are training, you avoid injuring your body, because an injury puts you out. And when you can't train, then you're actually going to go back. So instead of putting yourself in a situation where you can get injured, take things slowly, take it at your level, and make sure you're following all the safety precautions. Make sure you have somebody around when you're training, and make sure that you always train with a crash mat.
Yes, that is super important. Never train without a crash mat. I think another thing that is important too is knowing your body well enough to stop when it is time. Like for me in the beginning, I would be so insistent on getting a move right that even if I felt like something was off with my body, like maybe I pulled a muscle in my shoulder, because I was so determined at home to try and get a move, I would still push myself to get it done. And while that has given me some accomplished feelings in the long run, it doesn't pay off, because then you end up being injured and then you're not able to practice for a long time. So in the short term, it might seem like you might feel like you're resilient because you're pushing your body to get through something. But at the end of the day, you should make sure that you are safe first, that you keep yourself in as best shape as you can so that you can practice for a long time. Like we always say, we want to be safe at all times so we can practice for a long time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and now how much does it cost to train aerial? Taylor is laughing because, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, we're not even going to lie to you there. I think
Yeah.
this is the most expensive sport I've ever taken, and I've tried a lot of sports.
Yeah.
So
it all depends on what type of class, the level, where you're training.
Yep.
All of this is important, but at the end of the day, it is one of the more expensive sports for you to train.
Especially train safely.
Yes, especially to do it safely. If you want to do it at home to avoid the cost, we do encourage you to invest in the right equipment to make sure you are safe. So it is going to cost you a bit there as well. So aerial is not cheap. It is something that, and the thing is that, the more you train aerial, the more you want to train aerial.
Yep.
So the more expensive it gets.
Yep.
So do keep that in mind. If you had to give like an average of how much you would spend per month
on aerial, so like if you were to go to classes?
Yeah, if you were to go to classes.
Okay, so let's start, for example, before here in Asia, it would if you try to attend classes once a week or twice a week, it'll cost you somewhere around
$50 a week for 2 classes.
Yeah, it's $50 a week for 2 classes. So per month, it will be about $200. If you decide to go to 2 classes a week in the US, it'll cost you about $100 a week, so probably about $400. And if you were to get like an all-inclusive class sort of pass, it probably costs you the same amount to go to like an aerial studio. If you choose, some gyms do offer some very basic aerial classes, for example, like anti-gravity classes. We can find them here in Taiwan at some gyms that you pay like a membership price for the month, usually somewhere around $60 a month if you're in Asia. If you're in the US, it'll cost you something between $100 and $200 a month, where you have gym access and then you get to go sign up for classes that you can take, either pole or maybe anti-gravity or Lyra or something like that. Lyra is hoop, by the way. And then you'd be able to train often. These classes, they're not super specialized, and usually they're very multi-leveled. So if you're starting out, you might be in a class with people who've been doing it for years, and also some people who it's also their first time. So one of the great things about going to a studio is that usually you'll take a specific level and they'll be a little more accommodating to that level and like where you're at, and give you a little more, I guess, attention and try to build you from there. Yeah. So yeah, it is expensive. If you were to invest in your own equipment,
I'd say to get started, if you were starting with one apparatus, I would say about 2,500 to have all the things you need to safely start. If you are buying a rig. Now, if you are putting up something in your house and have to get beams installed and stuff like that, I have no idea.
Yeah,
we haven't done that. And we're not allowed to do that in Asia because we don't own houses here, we rent. So our landlords are very strict about not being able to put things up in their houses. So we don't do that. But based on what we've heard, you would have to hire like somebody to come in and inspect and test the loading. And that would be pricey.
Expensive.
Yeah, it would be expensive. It's not a cheap sport. But like we said, with the pain and everything, it's worth it.
Yeah. And for us, we've invested in our equipment for a while. After a while, it definitely does pay off.
Yes.
But I'm not going to, like, if I had more time, for example, I would want to be practicing more at home, and I'd also want to be going to classes. So, you know, with the addiction, I'm not sure if you save.
If you will save money.
Yeah, if you have your own equipment and you're constricted on time, that'll definitely help you out. Because I feel like if I had more time, I'd go to classes and also train at home, because I see lots of cool things that they teach in class where I don't have the height to do it. And, you know, like now this height is not as scary as it used to be anymore. And now I want to get more.
to grow.
Yeah, I want to grow some more. So, you know, and there's always, you know, there are always teachers that know more about you, and teachers are amazing on your aerial journey. Yeah.
And to offset this cost now is one of the reasons why we started our YouTube channel, because when we started training at home, we didn't have resources to use to train at home that were specific to aerial, you know, and we still wanted to feel like we were learning in class. And we realized that maybe, you know, if we have this issue, you might have this issue as well. So when you have gotten to a point where you can safely train at home, do try out the tutorials on our channel. We try our best to make sure that we are comprehensive with the way we break them down, and make sure that you can save energy and time when you are learning, trying to give you the tips that we use when we're learning these poses and these routines that we do on our channel as well. So we're hoping to add to the aerial space by helping you have some free resources that you can use. And you can help us by just hitting that subscribe button or that like button.
Yes.
Something that doesn't cost you a thing, but really helps out our channel a lot. Okay, Taylor, the last question.
How often should we train? That is a good question. It depends. It's important to be consistent with your training, because that's where you'll see the most progress, but you also don't want to overtrain. So when we first started, we were training like once a week. Yeah, we trained the aerial once a week, and then we also cross-trained. Just like, I guess, everyone on their fitness journey, right? It is important. Exercise is super important. So we would go to the gym. We ran a little. Did you run?
I wasn't running when we started.
So
that's
funny.
when I hated running.
Yeah, she hated running, and I used to run. And now I hate running, and she runs all the time. But yeah, so we would definitely recommend that you have a good balance between aerial and cross training. So training consistently at least once a week is helpful, alongside cross training. As you continue on your aerial journey, you'll find that the more you train, the better. So, you know, if you're able to train 3 times a week, that is great. You'll see a lot of progress there. Also, leave some space for recovery. That's always important. You need to give your muscles some time to recover, and also your skin too, you know, because you'll find that, you know, you're
probably just start.
Yeah, when you just start, you'll bruise really easily, and you probably won't want to be doing the same moves all the time. I mean, like day after day, because the next day you might be a little sore or bruised. So leaving some time to recover is helpful. It's also helpful for your mental. If you're just training all the time, you're gonna burn out. So it's nice to have like some time away doing something else, cross training, or just taking a rest day is super helpful. So, but consistency is key. So if you're going to start, the more consistent that you are, the faster you'll see results.
Yes. And you know, that's also important for your wallet as well, because we did establish that it is expensive, right? So when you just get started, start 1 class a week per se. And then slowly add in classes based on how your body recovers. And listen to your body. It's so important. And keep in mind the cross training and everything else that we've told you. And I hope that you have fun. Welcome to the aerial community. I hope to hear from you.
Yes, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you've watched all the way to the end. We hope we've answered some of your questions that you may have. And we hope that this is the push that you need to start your aerial journey. And remember that aerial is for everyone. Yes. So we want you to be a part of our community. We want you to enjoy aerial as much as we do, and for it to change your lives as much as it did ours.
Yes. And if you have other questions that we didn't cover in this video, please feel free to leave them down below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you and give us the opportunity to help answer those questions, or for other people in our community to also help with their experience and tell us what it was like tell you what it was like for them based on whatever question that you may have. Because if we don't have the answer, I'm sure there's somebody in our community who does.
Yes. And until next time,
bye!
If you like this video or you found it helpful, then check out the video we're leaving on screen where we answer common questions we get as aerialists.